Hi, I'm Jorge Antonio Vallejos, and you're watching BlackCoffeePoet.com. I run this website, BlackCoffeePoet.com, where I review books, interview writers, do videos. Some of those videos are vlogs, like this. This is a follow up to my summer reading list. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this vlog. I posted it yesterday, and now you're watching this vlog. So I do reading lists basically every season. I don't read every book, but I write a list down on paper, and then I check the books off as I read them. So my summer reading list comprises of poetry, short story, three novels, some motivational and spiritual books, some books about letters, well, comprised of letters, and then some nonfiction books. So let's start. You can watch blackcoffeepoet.com obviously on the internet, but don't forget there's a Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel that you can subscribe to, as well as blackcoffeepoet.com, and friend me on Facebook as well, Black Coffee Poet. Let's get to it. The Business of Fancy Dancing. This is one of my favorite books. It's by Sherman Alexie. He's Spokane from the U.S. He's Native American, and this is his first ever book. It's got short stories and poems, and it put him on the map after it got reviewed in the New York Times. Actually got to meet Sherman. Cool guy, amazing writer. This is one of my new favorite poets, Eugene Gloria. He's Filipino American, and this is his latest book, My Favorite Warlord. They just sent it to me, so I'm going to be reviewing this. I read his first book, and he also sent me his second book, which is somewhere here. So I'll be reading two Eugene Gloria books. The Romantic Dogs by Roberto Bolaño. Roberto Bolaño is a Chilean who was in exile. He died very young, at 52 years old, a couple years ago. You might know him better for his novel The Savage Detectives, but I love poetry, as you can tell by my website, so I'm going to be really into reading this. What I Keep by Jennifer K. Green. Jennifer K. Green is Cherokee. I don't know where I got this book, to be honest, but I'm really excited about it. She's got poems about pool, playing pool, about love, and just everyday life things, man. So I'm really excited to read this. Valley Sutra by Guldeep Gill. A friend of mine, Maureen Hines, who's a poet, and I featured her on blackcoffeepoet.com. You can look for that. Gave me this book. She gave me a whole stack of books, and one day I'm going to be doing a free book section on the books that Maureen gave me. Moez Sarani, Floating Life. Toronto guy. This is his second collection of poems. His publisher, Woolsack and Wynn, just sent it to me. So I'm looking to feature him as well. Review, interview, and video. So, gotta read it. Sumacs Red Arms by Karen Shklanka. Another one of the books that Maureen gave me. And I think Karen is from Toronto. Well, Canadian for sure. So, another thing to add to the list. Next to Nothing by Christina McCrae. Also published by Woolsack and Wynn, a publisher who I like because they publish good poetry, but they're very supportive of my website, and I appreciate that. And I just love the cover. It's feet walking on a train track. I love train tracks. I hang out at train tracks once in a while. I've written at train tracks. I've gone there to think and meditate. So we'll see where this goes. Skin Like Mine by Gary Godfredson. Gary is super cool. I got to hang out with him when he visited Toronto. He's from BC. He's Shuswap, Aboriginal, Shuswap Nation, and his poems are fierce. Gary doesn't hold back. Gary is in your face. He's anti-colonial. He's anti-racist. He talks about real life issues, and this collection is boom. Sovereign Erotics. We just featured them last week. This is an anthology comprised of two spirit peoples from Turtle Island, but also from across the world. And there's poems in here, there's short stories, there's a lot. So I'm really excited about reading this. It was already reviewed. We had a guest reviewer review it, Mike Packing. So check that out. The Fiddlehead, the poetry issue from summer 2002. Fiddlehead is a Canadian publication. It's a literature journal, and this is all poetry. And it happens that Maureen Hines is in here as well as Jim Nason, two poets that I've already featured. So when I review this, I'll get them to be the video and the interviews. Jim Harrison, big name in the U.S., big name in poetry. This was given to me by a friend, and it's called In Search of Small Gods. And I'm really interested in reading it. There's a picture of a man, could be Jim, I'm not sure, on the back, walking on the beach. Beautiful. Hoodlum Birds. This is Eugene Gloria's second book of poems. I just mentioned Eugene before, and he sent this to me. I said, hey, Eugene, I would love to review your new book, but can you send me your second book? I've already got your first. That way I can see how you've progressed as a poet. So, yeah, it's good to read everything about a writer that you like. So now I've got all of Eugene's books. I'll be rereading his first one at some point, but this summer I'm reading the second one and the third one. Okay, this book is a classic. Gloria Anzaldúa. She's a Chicana mestiza poet. She's queer. She's passed on, so she's up in the spirit world. But I just found this book the other day for $1. Can you see that? $1. Unbelievable. Anyways, so half of the poem is theory and essays, but the other half is a collection of poems called The Wind. Um, Actually, it's called Un agitado viento, so an agitated wind. And then there's an indigenous word, I believe. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it properly. Ehek atl. Anyways, I'm really excited about reading this and reviewing it. Say Uncle by Kay Ryan. Kay Ryan is a big poet in the US. Kay Ryan is very, very well known. I looked her up on Wikipedia and list of awards and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really happy that I have this. Got it at Goodwill for $1.25. Runaway Dreams by Richard Wagamies. Richard Wagamies is Ojibwe from Ontario. He's Aboriginal. He's awesome. He has a column in a paper that I write for, Nishnabik News, and I'm really excited to read his poems. Richard Wagamies is known for memoir. Now we've got some poetry. Wicked. Song I Sing by Bao Phi, Vietnamese American poet. This is from a press that I'm looking forward to working with more and more. Coffee House Press. They treated me really well, sent me a personal letter, and very, very nice people. So I'm looking forward to reviewing this and interviewing Bao Phi. Last but not least on the poetry list is Horold by Ed Buckley. I read Ed Buckley's first book. I'm really excited about reading this one, reviewing it, and interviewing him. This guy is the bomb. And he actually has a quote by Sherman Alexie on the back. So this is exciting. What does Sherman say? These poems are filled with a certain historical color of light. They're funny, slyly political, and gorgeous. Working with a variety of forms and modes, Ed Buckley rocks my socks off. I love this book. If my favorite poet, well, one of my favorite poets is recommending Ed Buckley, I gotta read it. So let's move on to short stories. Again, who are we going to start with? Sherman Alexie, the toughest Indian in the world. This is Sherman's second collection of short stories, and this story, toughest Indian in the world, is amazing. I can't tell you how many times I've read that actual story. Now I'm looking forward to reading the whole book. Um, what's her name? There's a very well-known Canadian writer. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, she told me that South by Southwest is top 5 in her short story list of like top 5 best short stories ever. That's huge. I'm just forgetting her name. I'm really sorry. Anyways, Last Evenings on Earth by Roberto Bolaño. Yes, I'm on this kind of Roberto Bolaño tip this summer. This is a collection of short stories, again, about exile and stuff. Cool. The Dirt Chronicles by Kristen Dunyan. Kristen Dunyan is a queer writer from Toronto. I've already taken the video of her. And pictures. I just got to do send her the interview via email to get questions, and a whole week will be done on Kristen Dunyan for my upcoming short story month. She's celebrating the short story on blackcoffeepoet.com. Skinfolk by Nalo Hopkinson. I just saw Nalo read last night at the Brockton Writers Series, and she signed my book. I don't know if you can see that, but it says, To Jorge, all best, Nalo Hopkinson. This is also a hard collection to find. She was like, that's out of print, that's hard to find. And she went like this when I showed her that I had it. So I'm very excited about reading it. That's also going to be part of Short Story Month on blackcoffeepoet.com, coming August 2012, so next month. Volt by Alan Heathcock. This collection of short stories is raw. It's gritty. It's about the lower class white folk in the states. It deals with a lot of issues. And this guy got a great review in the New York Times. That's how I found out about it. I contacted their publisher, Grey Wolf, which is another press that I really like and who treat me well. And I've been in touch with Alan. Alan is humble, Alan is kind, and I'm going to be excited to not only review the book for August, part of Short Story Month, but also interview Alan. And it's going to be fun. And he's also been published in somewhere that I've been published, the Kenyan Review. A story in here called Smoke appeared in there a while ago. And when I told him that I'm also from the Kenyan, that I was also published in the Kenyan Review, he was like, "Yay!" Very encouraging guy, very nice guy. Novels. I don't like novels, to be honest. I've only got three on the list, but I've got to get out of my comfort zone. This is called The Fuck Up, and it's by a guy named Arthur Narajian, and it's from New York. Supposedly it was an underground classic. People were like printing this underground, and it became like huge. So cool. Got it at Goodwill for $1.25. So Long, See You Tomorrow is supposedly an amazing book. I had read about it somewhere. Again, found it at Goodwill for $1.25. And the back just talks about it being William Maxwell is one of the past half century's unmistakably great novelists. Oh, the Washington Post Book World called it a small, perfect novel. John Updike said, "What a lovely book, utterly unlike any other in shape I have ever read." It's tiny, it's only like 100 pages or something, and I'm looking forward to reading it. This is one of my favorite writers, Ernesto Quinones, and this is his second book, Chango's Fire. I read his first book, Bodega Dreams, and I was blown away. It's like amazing. So I'm really excited to read this book, and it's basically about someone, an arsonist for hire. And with all the damn condos popping up in Toronto, I wish Chango would come visit us. Um, Letters. I love writing letters, and I also like reading people's letters. So let's start off with the classic Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke. I've read some of these. I'm gonna read them in its entirety this summer. Letters to a Young Artist by Julia Cameron. Julia Cameron is known for writing The Artist's Way. Is she gonna match Rainer Maria Rilke? I don't know, but I do like her other stuff, so we'll see how this goes. This is a writer I just discovered, Sarah Bertrand. I went to a reading at the Glad Day Bookshop in Toronto, which is Canada's only gay bookshop, I believe, and it might be the oldest gay bookshop in all of the world now, because it's the only one that I think is still up and running, or maybe Canada. I'm not sure. Anyways, and she read there for Pride. She blew me away. Sarah Bertrand is funny. Sarah Bertrand writes well. Sarah Bertrand is courageous. So she'll be featured very soon, possibly next week on blackcoffeepoet.com. So check it out. She writes letters to companies, to associations, to people. She's written museums, and she's gotten money. And these things are funny. She doesn't even expect to get anything, and she's getting money back, like for a vacuum or for her entrance to the Royal Ontario Museum. She wrote The Bachelor saying, "Hey, let me be the first lesbian on The Bachelor. Try it out." Of course, she didn't get an answer from them. Anyways, she's really good, so I'm excited to read this. This is called The Best of Inner Park Productions, Sarah Bertrand. Let's move on to motivational stuff. Now, before I read this, a message to all the activists who like to criticize everybody. Um, there's a lot of activists who are very privileged, don't recognize their privileges. There's a lot of activists who their families own property and many cars and businesses and are ready to jump on you about capitalism. I read spiritual books and books about motivation and success. Um, I come from a family of color. My mother is a woman of color who worked her ass off serving white folk for years and years and years at a private club carrying heavy trays. So don't be coming in my face and telling me shit. All right. How Successful People Think by John C. Maxwell. Short, to the point. I read a book of his on ethics that I really enjoyed, so I'll be enjoying this. Unleash Your Purpose by Miles Monroe. Man of color, knows his stuff. This is Christian based. That's okay. I just look for really like what is he saying about going for your goals and purpose. And I do have a belief in the Most High. I don't agree with everything Miles Monroe says, but I agree with a lot of it. I read another one of his books, so I'm really excited to read this one. Winners Never Cheat by John M. Huntsman. the title got me. It's like everyone's cutting corners these days, and I've done that myself, and I'm just trying not to. And so I'm just gonna see, what does this guy have to say? You know what I mean? And how can I apply his philosophy to what I do? Screw It, Let's Do It, Lessons in Life by Richard Branson. I know this is a book that if I showed people, they'd be jumping on me. Like, you know what? Everyone's got a story, everyone's got something to say, and I can definitely learn stuff from somebody like Richard Branson and apply it to what I'm doing with blackcoffeepoet.com and fighting oppression and all kinds of other stuff. The Gifts of Imperfection by Breen Brown. I saw Breen Brown talk on TEDx. She's an amazing talk, and I was blown away. Saw this at Goodwill for $1.25, and I was like, yes, I'm getting this. Am I imperfect? Hell yeah. Is it a gift? I'm sure some of that is. I'm trying to work on myself constantly, and this is another book that I think is gonna help out. Tapping the Iceberg, Achieve Straight A's in Life Through Attitude, Aptitude, and Action. I definitely have to work on my attitude, no doubt. Do I take action? Yes. This vlog is part of that. My website, my writing for different places, for sure. I'm a doer. But I like this stuff, and I like keywords: attitude, aptitude, and action. And this is from a Toronto guy, actually. Never know. Maybe I'll meet him. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll like it. Maybe I won't. But I'm pretty sure I can get some stuff out of this. So, on to the last section, nonfiction stuff. A mix. This is a mix. So this is a classic book. Then Zen in the martial. No, I read that last a long time ago. Zen in the martial arts. No, this is Zen in the Art of Writing by Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury is a very well-known writer. This is essays about writing. And I know some people are gonna hate the title Zen. I'm not looking at him as a master. I'm not into practicing Zen. Zen is one of these key cool words now by New Agers and all this kind of stuff. I'm here for the lessons that I can learn from it, and I'm looking past the title. I'm actually just looking at the art of writing. Ultra Marathon Man, Confessions of an All-Night Runner by Dean Karanzis. I just read an amazing book on running by Haruki Murakami. What I talk about when I talk about running. Amazing book about him training for the Boston Marathon. And so when I saw this for $1 in a bin downtown, same day that I bought the Gloyanzo Dua, I was like, I really enjoyed Haruki Murakami's book on running. This is another book on like motivation. It kind of could have been in the other pile, to be honest, but it's a memoir. And I really believe in pushing yourself and action and going for your goals. And so this is another book that I'm probably going to enjoy. Okay, here's a classic. This is a memoir called The War by Marguerite Duras. And I was advised to read Marguerite Duras by Jacqueline Pudick, who's a fellow poet here in Toronto, and I featured her on blackcoffeepoet.com. She's a really good poet. Her interview was awesome, and her reading was cool too. Anyways, she loves Marguerite Duras, and I was like, okay, again, Goodwill, $1.25. And so, I love memoir. I've been published in memoir in Descant, in the Kenyan Review, and some other places, and so it's like, why not learn from one of the best? Okay, familiar name, Roberto Bolaño, The Last Interview. So these are 4 interviews that were done with big publications. One in a Chilean newspaper, one in Bomb magazine, another in Turia, which is something in Barcelona, and Playboy, the Mexico edition. So it's interviews with Roberto Bolaño about his writing. So hey, I've got interviews, I've got short stories, and a collection of poems to read by Roberto Bolaño. I'm excited. And the last book, not least, Catalysts by Catherine Owen. Catherine Owen is a writer from British Columbia, Canada, and this is a collection of diary, memoir, and poems. She's got several collections of poetry. So again, this is from Woolsack and Wynne, a publisher that supports me, and so I'm very happy to be reading and reviewing this book, and we've already set a date when she's in Toronto in October to videotape her, take photos, and we'll have a whole week on Catherine in the future. So, a book that I did leave out that I can't find right now, The Road Less Traveled. That is part of my motivation spiritual section, and it's by Scott Peck. I've already read it, so it's a reread, and it's a great book. So, Again, a lot of these books are short. I can read a book of poetry in about an hour, hour and a half. These memoirs, when I get into a memoir, I go right through. And the collections of short stories, I read a short story and then I go back to another one later in the collection, later that day or whatever. And I'll be getting through these. I've got till September 21st, end of September, and maybe I won't read all of these books. Maybe they'll just spill over into the winter and then I'll add them to my winter list. But that's my summer reading list for 2012. If you're reading some of the same books, contact me if you want to read them together and maybe talk about them. You know what I mean? We can do that over Skype or email or even in person if you're in Toronto. Contact me. Share this vlog. Enjoy books, support writers of color, support Aboriginal writers, support queer writers, support all writers. Buy real books, whether they're brand new or at Goodwill or wherever it may be. Use bookstores downtown. Thank you very much for joining me on blackcoffeepoet.com. Friend me on Facebook. I am Black Coffee Poet. Friend me on Twitter. I'm also Black Coffee Poet. And subscribe to the Black Coffee YouTube channel and blackcoffeepoet.com. Keep reading, keep writing, or start writing. Enjoy literature. Peace out.